My name's Jocelyn O'Neill and I'm here with Denise Gambs. Denise, what brought you to our community and why do you stay?
So, I grew up in Red Oak, and I had what I consider a wonderful childhood here, and I have lots of great memories. I left Red Oak because I joined the military and I wanted to go out and see the world and experience new things and all that. But I always loved living in a small town, and I love the small town life. And then when I retired from the military, I decided I want to come back here for a lot of different reasons. Family and friends that are here in the area, and I wanted to live in the country. That's something that I've always wanted to do. When I was in high school, my mom and I would drive around, because there wasn't any like Zillow or anything, you know. My mom and I would drive around out in the country and try and find a house that we could maybe convince my dad that we could buy. And we never succeeded at that, but I always wanted to live in the country. And so when I was thinking about coming back here, Tony Johnson heard that I was looking and graciously offered to sell me 5 acres of his farmland, and so now I've moved back. And I really am super excited to be back and really enjoying it, living here. Yeah.
Okay, good. What branch of the military?
I was in the Air Force.
Okay.
Yeah.
My grandpa was too.
Really? That's nice.
Okay. What unique characteristics set our town apart from others?
Some of the things about Red Oak that I think are unique are basically, one of the things I see is that you know, there are a lot of people here, and the community itself is really dedicated to making this a good place to live. And you see interesting organizations and things like that that are really positive and like seeking out to make things better. I guess Heart and Soul is like a perfect example of that. One of the things that I think are unique are that Red Oak is always striving to like make this a more positive place or make this a good place to live. And we have a lot of interesting things here in the area, like that basically kind of hold on to the history and the culture that we've had in the past, like the like the train depot, or of course the historic downtown area. You know, the town is always kind of working to make that better, and you know, make sure that the stores are in use and all of those things. And then there's the Montgomery County Historical Society.
Yes.
Yes. And I think those things are really important and unique. And when you drive, like when I was in Texas, my last assignment, and so when you drive up, you drive through a lot of small towns in Iowa once you kind of get off the interstate, and you can tell like there's a difference in the towns that you see. A lot of the small towns in the Midwest, they're kind of, you know, getting a little smaller, and a lot of them look, you know, maybe a little run down, or they look like they're struggling, I guess. And you know, I think like if you look around the downtown area, just like the beautification effort, you know, there's people, I don't know exactly who does all of that, but there are people I know that are working really hard to make sure that beautification in Red Oak is nice. And you know, in the summer, like you never see a blade of grass, right? Like they're mowing constantly, and it just always looks really nice. And I think that really makes the town stand out in that aspect of just always trying to like make this a good place to live.
Tell me about a time you felt proud of our community.
So when I left Red Oak, and my mom started at some point, helped to start the food pantry here.
Okay.
And so that's one of the things that I really loved about coming back, is that I have been able, she passed away in 2004, and so I've been able to kind of continue that work for her, and it's been really cool. I think the food pantry is just really unique, and it's such a blessing for our community. So many people in our community use it, and I think it's really cool because I am like continuously kind of overwhelmed by how generous people in this community are. People, you know, maybe an example would be like an organization that we see. I've been back for over a year now, so you see an organization that's maybe consistently giving to the food pantry from within its own organization, like doing that donation stuff. Or sometimes people, like when you work there, you know, regularly, you see maybe a person who comes in almost every week, bringing something that can be used at the food pantry. So I'm just really proud to see so many people in our community willing to either donate their time or donate items. Some people donate money, like it's just a variety of things. But so one of the other things I was thinking about with the food pantry is that I love that we're able to basically extend the life of things. So, you know, all kinds of people donate to the food pantry, right? You might have people that are really have been financially blessed, or the people that are actually using the food pantry, they have something in their home and they've decided they don't need it anymore and they bring it back. And so we're able to really extend the life of things in a way that helps keep things out of the landfill, right? We're not just throwing things away. And I love to see that too. Like even the clothes that we get donated, so if they're past the point of what we think is useful, then we donate them to the high school. I forget, I don't know the name of that program, but where you guys get something back from the clothes that are donated to you as well. So it's just like this continuous
It's like a
cycle.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I like
Yeah.
It's a good answer.
Thank you.
If you could tell a newcomer one thing about moving to our town, what would you tell them?
So I think I would probably tell them, well, maybe depending on if they lived in a city and they were moving here, or if they lived in another small town, right? Because it's pretty different.
Yes.
But in general, I would just say that they should be able to adjust to a slower pace, right? Which sometimes, depending on the person, that might be like something wonderful, which for me it is. Like, I love the slower pace. But if it's someone who's maybe young and used to living in a city, that might be more challenging for them, right? But also, I would say that, you know, and I've like living in the military and living so many places, it's interesting. I've found that it doesn't matter where you are, there are always people who are going to be negative and not like it. And you would not think that would be possible. Like, for example, I lived in Italy for 2 years, and to try and think, like, what could you find negative about this? But people did it. People can always find something negative, but what I would say in general is if you're coming to a new place, to like make an effort to seek out and find the things that are neat in that place. Like some of the places I mentioned, like, you know, go to the Historical Society once if you've never been before. Even if it's maybe not necessarily fully your interest, so that you can see what's out there and just get a clear picture and idea of the place that you're living. Just if you seek out and try and like find out the different options that are around you and really look and see what the place has to offer, I think there's more likely that you're going to have like a positive impact, or the place is going to have a positive impact on you. Yeah. That's probably what I would say.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think just being open to the idea of change is something that I think everyone
Change is
new or
hard,
old. Yes.
right? Change is
Yes.
hard for everyone, for sure. But the world is constantly changing, and so for our town to be able to keep up, there are some things that I think are positive to make those changes.
I agree. Wow. What worries you about our future of our community?
I thought about this question a lot, and I'm not sure I have a great answer, but one of the things that I just thought of was the fact that towns are getting smaller in the Midwest, and I think that the answer to fixing that problem is not simple. It's complicated and it comes from a lot of different things, but I do think that when sometimes in a small town, we feel like if we want to do something in particular, like as a career or something, maybe that isn't possible here in a small town, then people go off to the city or things like that. Or even later in life, like say you have an older couple who wants a specific type of facility that they want to live in, that maybe we have some here options, but we don't have all the options, right? And so maybe they leave the community to go and do that in a specific place. But I would say that that concerns me a little bit, because it's a challenge to fix that and maybe make a change to facilitate people's desire to live in a small town. I don't think it's necessarily about the town of Red Oak. I just think that it's a challenge.
I think it happens everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally happening. I've read that across the United States. It's not unique to Iowa. But I think there's also, I've read a little bit about, in the Midwest in particular, that's, there's a uniqueness to that. Because then you have like the farming thing that plays in there, because we have a lot of farming around here. And yeah, so I'm not really sure about it, but I think that would be the one thing I would say that's concerning. The other thing I had thought about, which you guys can totally edit out if you want to, because I didn't want it to seem negative, like a negative part of the interview. But our society is changing a lot, and so there's some things about living here that are amazing because they haven't changed, right? Like that's one of the things. I sort of neglected to mention this in my first question, but I'm a little bit of a non-traditionalist. Like I live in a tiny house on wheels, and my garage or shed or whatever is a used shipping container. And I like seek out like different things like that to that I think are positive for me, maybe positive for the environment, positive things in general, but people aren't used to that, right? So our community has, like society has changed a little bit, and in some ways that maybe can be positive, and some that are like more difficult and challenging and can maybe be seen as negative. So like the example I would use is before I moved back, I was spending some time on the Red Oak Talk of the Town page, just to gather information and, find out stuff. And I had, put a question on there that was like really super simple. It was something about like, does anywhere in Red Oak allow you to bring your dogs into a store or a restaurant? Because I was living in a place at the time that you could kind of take your dog everywhere. And I didn't even have a dog, but like eventually I will have a dog, right? So I was just kind of curious about it, and boy, I was just like so taken aback. Like, people just kind of attacked the question,
Yes.
and it became like this big thing, and I ended up just deleting it, the question, because I was like, okay, this is like, and I didn't even like engage with anyone, because I don't typically do that online. But like, they were just going back and forth at each other, and people were defending me, and people were like, so it became like a crazy thing. And I like that Facebook page because you can gather a lot of information. You can find out what's coming up or what's going on in the town. But there are situations there that, you know, people can be like really hurtful, or something along those lines, in a way that they would not be in person.
Yeah, it's social media. That's how it is in every generation. Even our generation, there's constantly people going online and just saying comments.
Yeah, things that they wouldn't say to your face.
Yeah.
Right. So that's probably just like, you know, it's affecting everyone everywhere, like you said. But I see that as something that can, you know, some people on that website say a lot of negative things about our town. And so it's difficult for people who maybe have never been here to ascertain if that's accurate or not, and all of those things. But so the other thing I thought of is, so like I said earlier, I love, you know, a lot of things about my memories growing up here and things like that. But I think sometimes we need to find a balance of how much we're going to remain the way we used to be, and how much we're going to adapt to the way the world is living around us, right? And so there are a lot of things here that, like, for example, when I came back, I was like, wow, this is so cool. Like, I would get something, I would pay someone for a service, like say it was like electrical or water or whatever. Pay someone for a service, and then they wouldn't even make me pay right away. And that was just shocking to me after having lived in like big cities and things like that. You can't get anything done without paying, right? And they were like, oh, I know where you live. Like, I'll send you a bill, or, you know, whatever. And so things like that can be a positive thing, because, you know, you feel like you're trusted, and you know, it gives people the opportunity to like do things in a slower manner. Like, everything's not so fast paced necessarily. It's like a slower, just in general, way of living, and I love that about a small town. But then there's also the challenge of, so like when I lived away, I'm used to doing everything electronically. And so that's probably what I would say is the hardest thing about living here for me in particular, is that like, I'll go, like, for example, I'll go to Hy-Vee and you see someone out there like selling Girl Scout cookies or something, and I'm like, oh, I would love to, and I totally would. I would buy a box of cookies or make a donation, but I can't because I don't carry cash anymore. And so in some ways I have tried to adjust to that, but I find myself digging in my heels a little bit and trying to convince people to start changing that and taking electronic methods more. The first thing I had to do, one of the first things I had to do is I had to buy, well, I won't mention it specifically. So one of the things, I had to buy something, it was kind of large. Like, it wasn't something you just had cash in your pocket for. And I went to that place of business, and it was like the first time I've had to do that since I moved back. And I gave them my credit card. And the guy was like, what am I supposed to do with that? And I was like, I didn't even know what he meant, right? So there are a lot of places around here that it's a struggle, like, to pay for things when you're not used to that. Right? So that's kind of a silly thing, but
no, it's understandable. I think once time like moves on, I think our town will eventually catch up.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
100%.
Yeah. I'm gonna ad-lib a couple of things in here, just that I've thought of as we've talked, but, like one of the other things that I really love about living here, this is just kind of an example, and I've told a million people about this experience. Like the library, for example. So we don't have a coffee shop here, and I know we're getting one, right?
Yes.
But I am.
Is that by the movie theater?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. So I'm super excited that we're getting a cafe. But because we don't have one, when I studied, I would often go to the library.
Yeah.
And I had not really been in there much since I'd moved back. And so when I went in the first time, I said, hey, is it okay if I bring a cup of coffee in here? Is there like a no drink policy or whatever? I was explaining to them like that studying and coffee like go hand in hand with me, and that I can't do one without the other. And they were like, oh yeah, you can totally bring something in. And they're like, in fact, we have coffee here, we can make you a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? And they were like, yeah, we'll make it for you. And I drink decaf, and they didn't have decaf. And I said, well, I'll just take a regular today. Normally I drink decaf. And those ladies are so awesome. Mm-hmm. Like every time I go there now, they like offer to make me a cup of coffee, and I can go back there with my coffee and study. And they went out and they bought me decaf coffee. So it's just like those things you would never see that in the city, never ever. And those are the things that kind of make me love this place a little more. Yeah.